So I wanted to make a quick video today on something that's becoming a bit of a hot topic recently because the creator experience server is out and there's a lot of content creators making videos on Rappa. Now there are some zero cycles already out there. A lot of people I've seen in the comments are questioning, why have people been recommending me not to pull for Rappa? She looks so strong. Have people just been doom posting her? And it's been a very common question in multiple Rappa showcase videos that I've seen, and a lot of people who don't really understand why people aren't recommending Rappa seem to be like a little annoyed. They probably just think like, oh, it's just more meta people, they can't have fun with any character, right? Here's the truth behind why Rappa isn't recommended by people who fully understand her kit and the other characters in the game. Number one, no weakness implant. This is the most glaring issue. Boothill can weakness implant anyone with his ult, and Firefly can weakness implant anyone with either her technique or her enhanced E that she gets from her ultimate. Meaning two characters have weakness implant, and the only other Break DPS, being Rappa, doesn't have it at all. Meaning you're going to be eating through the toughness bar a lot slower compared to those two if you aren't going against imaginary weak enemies. And it gets worse because if they don't have a fire weakness either, well, you're even more screwed because half of the super break supports are fire. I mean, Lingsha is fire and she constantly takes turns because of Fuyuan and her ult, and Fugue is also going to be fire and is also rumored to be another sub DPS in the break team, similar to Lingsha, but high likelihood that she actually does more damage than Lingsha, considering Lingsha is a sustain. So you have three fire characters that you could possibly pair together, being Firefly, Fugue, and Lingsha, who can all absolutely shred through the toughness bar because of the fact that Firefly can weakness implant. If Rappa had weakness implant, then her synergy with Harmony Trailblazer would be good enough to justify pulling for her. But because she doesn't, it just makes it not good in the slightest of an idea to pull for her when Firefly and Boothill are due for their reruns soon. You guys have to keep in mind, on average, every 4 to 5 patches is when they rerun a character after their initial release, right? Sparkle reran after 4 patches. Black Swan reran after 5 patches, and I believe Kafka also 5 or 6 patches. Robin, I believe, also reran within like 4 or 5 patches. Basically, you see the pattern. When there's a certain archetype of character, they will then rerun the previous character that was of that archetype as well. Meaning, Firefly's most likely rerun will be alongside Fugue in 2.7 or likely at max 3.0. Meaning, we're only 1 to 2 patches away from getting a Firefly or Boothill rerun. So why would you go for the worst break DPS when you can get the two best break DPSs in the game? That's basically why people are saying not to pull for Rappa. It's not that she's a bad DPS, it's just that it's a bad choice overall. That's really all that they're saying, right? Rappa can still do some really good damage numbers. Don't get it wrong, she's probably a top 5 DPS in the game currently. However, that simply isn't enough compared to a top 3 DPS like Firefly, and then Boothill is either right before her or right after Firefly, all depending on the relic investment. If you have some really good speed tuning on a Boothill team will usually be better than a Firefly team if you know what you're doing. However, at lower relic investment with worse speed tuning, I'd say Firefly team is on the same level, if not better overall, since Firefly is destruction and Boothill is hunt, making Firefly a lot more universal for all the endgame modes. Not to mention, once again, Fugue and Lingsha are also fire, so Firefly can run triple synergy using her, Fugue, and Lingsha, and because of her weakness implant, she's gonna be shredding through every single endgame mode that this game has to offer for quite a while. It's just very, very broken, right? So at the end of the day, Rappa just isn't as strong because of Weakness Implant. However, that's not it. There's actually more to touch on, such as Rappa is the weakest break element. Now, if you guys don't know what this means, the strongest break element in the game is fire, with a 2.x multiplier for break damage and super break damage. However, Imaginary has the lowest super break / break multiplier. I'm not sure which of the two it is. Maybe it's both. I'm not completely sure, but I remember doing my research on this. Rappa has a 0.5x super break / break multiplier, and that's why her multipliers in her kit look so stupid broken, but in reality she does similar damage to Boot Hill and Firefly, is because she's the weakest element possible for a super break DPS or character in general. The only way I can see them fixing her is if they bring out a future Imaginary like support break character that can implant weakness in place for Rappa, because otherwise she's just worse than both Boot Hill and Firefly, who also have better break multipliers, because Rappa is the weakest element for break in the entirety of the game. I don't know what Hoyo was thinking, but hey, it is what it is, right? And lastly is that Rappa does not have any speed boost abilities. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean, Firefly in her ult gains an incredible amount of speed, allowing her to take 3 to 4 turns a cycle without much issue. Rappa doesn't have anything that scales for speed in her kit or boosts her speed in the slightest. There's only one thing, which is that if you're able to get her ult fast enough and you have like DDD on your Harmony Trailblazer, you're able to get like a free extra turn because her ultimate just gives her a free turn automatically. However, if you're not able to hit that ultimate threshold, you're not going to be able to get that free turn consistently enough, making it not really that worth it. And I'm pretty sure you need like DDD on your Harmony Trailblazer to make this work, and you need to keep that in mind, because for those of you out there who know how Harmony Trailblazer works, you usually want to give him a light cone that has break effect on it, because Harmony Trailblazer's E4 gives your party 15% of his break effect. So the more break effect you have on your Harmony Trailblazer, the more you're going to be helping out your team and giving them more break effect. However, this will obviously fall off if you use DDD, because you're not going to be having a break effect light cone on him. So you're going to be losing, especially if you use Ruan Mei's light cone. I know a lot of people do this. They use Ruan Mei's light cone on their Harmony Trailblazer for their break team because of this, and also the fact that he ults more often than your Ruan Mei would. So keep that in mind. You do usually have to run Harmony Trailblazer with DDD like almost all the time. Whether or not that's a deal breaker for you because you lose out on some break effect, I don't know, but do keep that in mind. And then lastly, the reason this doesn't affect Boot Hill, because also Boot Hill doesn't have really anything that boosts his speed. However, because he's a crit break DPS, you can run him with Bronya, allowing you to give him multiple turns a cycle. So Boot Hill has Bronya to increase his speed in his turns, and Firefly has her ult state, which immensely increases her speed, while Rappa has nothing. You're not going to want to put a Bronya on your Rappa team because she isn't crit oriented, and you're going to be losing out on significant buffs from other characters that you could have on the team. So those are the 3 big reasons why people do not recommend Rappa. 1, no weakness implant compared to Boot Hill and Firefly. 2, she's the weakest element for break in the entirety of the game. And 3, she doesn't have anything that can boost her speed, or anyone who can boost her speed, unlike Boot Hill and Firefly. And also, something else I should mention very quickly, as I mentioned before in the previous video, this should be like the 4th point synergy. Once again, Fugue is fire and Ling Sha is fire. So if you run a Firefly team with those 3, you're just going to be shredding through everything in the game. Everything is getting killed instantly, basically, because Ling Sha's practically a sub DPS, and it's rumored that Fugue is a main / sub DPS, meaning she'll likely do even more for the Break team in terms of damage than Ling Sha would. And if you guys are already aware of how strong Ling Sha is, it's absolutely bonkers the damage that she can do on the team. So synergy is another reason why Firefly is just a better choice over Rappa. I think with Fugue in Ling Sha's release, Firefly will be, no matter what, the best Break character / Break Super Break team in the game. In my opinion, I'm not being biased, Boot Hill is probably the most fun character in the game, like Super Break character in the game. He looks so much fucking fun. He has one of the coolest ults, some of the best character design in the game. I absolutely love him, and I honestly wish I could get him. I hope I get lucky enough to get like 1 or 2 early 5 stars so I can get Boot Hill. However, unfortunately, I just don't think I'm going to be that lucky, and so I'd rather go down the route of getting Firefly with Fugue and the Ling Sha I already have on this account. So yeah, that's 3 or 4 of the main big reasons why people aren't advocating for Rappa. It's mainly because the other 2 DPSs just have overall advantages while not having the disadvantages that she has. She's still very decent and good for pure fiction, where enemies won't have that big of toughness bars. However, outside of that, when you're going against like 3 enemies or 1 enemy like Apocalyptic Shadow or MOC, she's just gonna perform worse in both Boot Hill and a Firefly team. So yeah, that's the video. Have a good day, have a good night, peace.